Welcome back to. Oh my God, it's still recording this part. Well, sorry, but yeah, welcome back to another episode of a weekly crypto market recap, where we have Zoro and Icarus here. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is terrible introduction, but this is just the beginnings. It will get better. Give us some,
The only way is
time.
up.
Exactly. Oh man, a lot of things happened in the last week. I can tell you that.
Yeah, enough to talk about.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Enough to talk about.
And like I see, so yeah, let's just go right in. So like I seen this post of this guy talking about essentially the evolution of the internet and like how it like progressed over time and how like it just didn't just jump from nothing to what we see today. And like it's a great thread because it really goes through like it shows like how like there was so many different stages and like we're seeing the exact same thing in the crypto market and like people just assume that we're just gonna get to that to get to that point where like it's everybody's just using crypto and then everybody's happy when like that's not the case. Like there's so many hurdles that we still gotta
Yeah,
like jump through and so many things that we still need to build out before we can actually get to that point. What do you think?
yeah. I feel like that. That ties back into a few things. I think one of the other things that we wanted to discuss this week was the Solana phone, and
Yeah.
I think they both tie into this idea of that I've seen somewhere a while ago, but where someone said, yeah, pretty much all big technological revolutions were at least in some part dependent upon hardware.
Mm.
Um, so if you look at mobile things, for example, things like Instagram and all kinds of mobile apps that you use every day. If it wasn't for the iPhone, then it's very likely that they would not be where they are today, right? Like the
Exactly.
iPhone was the first really good smartphone um, that kind of set the bar for all these other smartphones. And nowadays, most smartphones are, at least in my opinion, fairly similar to what the iPhone is, or they're trying to be kind of an alternative to iPhone,
Right.
but they're fairly similar. And I guess yeah, I mean that was also I guess the case with the computer. Like the internet, for example, didn't really pop off until most people could afford like a personal home computer, because otherwise who's going to
Yeah.
be on the internet, right? If no one can even get access to the internet, then because they don't have their own computer, then who's going to be on the internet? So
Right.
what Solana now is doing with their phone, um, I think I think you can look at it in two ways. I think I even mentioned this to someone in a Discord somewhere. But basically, you could look at it in a way where you compare it to, let's say, Apple or Samsung, and
Hmm.
they can probably never win that battle, right? Like especially not with only I think 10 million in funding. I think they have that. Like 10 million is not enough to launch a whole ecosystem and do like a very good marketing campaign and all that. Like 10
Right.
million is not enough to compete with the likes of Apple and Samsung. But
Right.
if you look at it from a different perspective and you're thinking like, all right, this is basically to offer users a better experience, um, as
Yep.
opposed to like MetaMask or something, then it becomes way easier because, yeah, if you're someone who's already, you have spent some time on like DEXs and um, like just DeFi in general, then you've kind of gotten used to like doing things with MetaMask, and then it's not too difficult anymore. I feel like,
Right.
um, but you still, if you're looking at it from kind of a normie standpoint, first of all, I mean, they now have like direct onboarding access, so you can buy crypto through MetaMask, so that it's directly in your MetaMask wallet, which obviously is good, but that was not always the case. Now
Yeah.
I think they just supported, or they just launched support for, yeah, exactly, for Arbitrum and Optimism. So that's obviously good, because that's also the thing, right? If it was only Ethereum, that's just blockchains in general are not super user friendly if you're coming from a world where basically every application that you're using is free, right? You don't have to pay a transaction fee to
Right.
post a picture on Instagram, for example, or upload a video on TikTok or something like that, or
Exactly.
Snapchat or whatever. And with blockchains, you do have to pay transaction cost for pretty much everything you're doing. So if it was only Ethereum, then obviously that's not affordable for pretty much anyone. But now that they did include that support for Arbitrum and Optimism, that's already a step up. But still, like, you have to add like a custom RPC if it's different than Ethereum. Like, it
Yep.
would already be better if all these custom RPCs for the biggest networks like Arbitrum, Avalanche, whatever you have, like Binance Smart Chain, if they would already be included standard in MetaMask, I think that would be better. But even then, you still have kind of this whole journey, or yeah, kind of this user journey that you have to go through, um, that is just not super user friendly. Like, if you want to spend a token on, let's say, Uniswap, you first have to pay a small amount to approve it. I mean, if you're not super knowledgeable about how blockchains work, you're like, all right, so I already paid, right? And then you have to pay another
Exactly.
transaction fee to do the actual swap.
Right.
And basically, all this is to say that if this Solana phone can somehow abstract all those kinds of pain points away, um, then I think they might capture a bigger part of kind of the crypto user market. But I
Yep.
don't think they will be competing with, let's say, yeah, like I said, they're probably not gonna win over people who are not already interested in crypto, right? Like, again, they're not competing with Apple and Samsung. Like, let's say some of your friends who might not be that interested in crypto, they're probably not all of a sudden gonna be like, ah, yeah, let me buy the new Solana phone, even if it is fairly good. And
Exactly.
probably not, because why would they, right? It is an unproven brand in the phone market.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think this could win over some users. Maybe, if I'm looking honestly at myself, um, that are fairly skeptical about Solana. Um,
Yep.
yeah, because I'm not the biggest fan of Solana, like, you know that, because yeah, they just have constant downtime. Or constant is maybe too harsh of a word, but they have quite a lot of downtime,
Yeah.
which is not good. But then, on the other hand, if the user experience is just, let's say, 10 times better than on EVM chains, and especially like if we're talking about uh, desktop, and I haven't even tried like mobile applications, because if it's already kind of bad on desktop, I mean, some things are, yeah, you just get used to it, right? Like, it is
Yeah.
okay to use, but I've hardly ever used a blockchain application where it was like, holy shit, this is smooth. That almost never
Right.
really happens. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine how it is if you would try the same things on mobile. I think it's probably even worse. But if Solana could make something that just feels more like, um, and it sounds kind of dumb to say, but more like a Web 2 application in terms of UX and UI, then that might get some people to use it that would normally not use Solana, and then also, yeah, I think the Solana crowd will obviously uh, be the biggest target audience for this phone. I would think, at least. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I agree.
if you're not specifically targeting Solana users, then who are you targeting, right? But
Right.
yeah, um, I guess
No,
that's my opinion of this whole thing.
yeah, no, like I like it's interesting because it might spark like a like a war call it, where like it's, now since Solana has their mobile stack, and like now they have a phone. Now people are gonna be developing mobile D apps, and there's gonna be a whole like app store, you can call it. It's like okay, now where's, the Ethereum version of this, and like we're gonna see that very soon, and it's gonna be pretty exciting because like how you're saying, it's gonna make the user experience 1,000 times easier. And they even have like when you create your seed, that like you don't have to worry about writing it on a piece of paper and saving it somewhere. Like they have like this seed vault you can call it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we would have to look more into the technicals to see how like how it would work, and like is there any security risk or anything? But like
yeah,
they're trying to solve that problem, because a lot of users like that are coming in, they're not gonna like want to have to like, oh, write down this specific password, you can call it, that unlocks like all their funds, like that they would have to write on a piece of paper and save it somewhere, because if they lose it, then they lose access to their money essentially. And like that can scare off a lot of retail. So like that's a good step in the right direction. And I like that they even have like something called a Solana Pay, which is like essentially like
oh
Apple Pay,
yeah,
you can call it. Yeah, and like they're just doing like interesting things where like it's not just like, oh yeah, like we're creating, like it's not just, oh, we're the next fast blockchain. It's not just that anymore. It's like, okay, now we're trying to, you know take a step in a direction where like not like others are not really taking. Like it's like a whole new path that's really showing us that like that we could start unlocking more capabilities like in the future, where like if we really do get to that point where it's like multi-chain, then like I don't see why we wouldn't have the same thing in regards to a phone, and like the mobile stack being multi-chain as well. Like it's gonna be like the same thing essentially, but like all connected, all blockchains connected, and it's gonna be a lot easier to use. And I mean, like we still see a bunch of people on Coinbase just like using what Coinbase offers, and this is
yeah.
just gonna be a way to bring those people like actually into the space rather than just trading crypto. They're actually gonna start using these decentralized applications.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. I think if we're moving to kind of a multi-chain world, and even though a lot of smart people have said that that comes with security drawbacks, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how soon we'll get there, and if we have to make some
Yeah.
compromises. But let's just say we end up in this. I mean, we're already in the multi-chain world. What I'm more referring to is kind of this cross-chain world,
Right.
actually.
Right.
But then ideally you would get to a point where kind of the base layer is just abstracted away, and you don't even really have to think about which layer you're using.
Yeah.
So that could be something. But one of the or actually 2 points that you mentioned is it could definitely become some kind of competition between Solana and maybe Ethereum or other ecosystems, where they
Yeah.
also release a hardware device like a mobile phone or whatever. I think, to be honest, it might not come from Ethereum themselves, since Ethereum is not a company.
Yeah. Of course.
Um, so yeah, I think that would probably more likely come from maybe a roll up on Ethereum, although
Mm.
I'm not sure they would have the funds necessarily for that, or maybe a chain like Avalanche could also be
Right. Right.
interesting. But if we're just looking at the Solana phone, I think what could be a sort of best case scenario for them would be to win over a lot of the crypto crowd, and then hopefully through that, if let's say your average person sees And again, this is kind of a best case scenario, but if your average person sees like, ah, right, over let's say the next 5 to 10 years, right? If they see, all right, yeah, I see more and more crypto things in my everyday life,
Right.
and simultaneously I see that that there's this new phone that is really working well, and some of my friends who are more into crypto might have it, and they're positive about it.
Mhm.
I think if it comes to a point where crypto is so widely used, that people can see, all right, yeah, this Solana phone is better designed to work with all these dApps, as
Mhm.
opposed to, let's say, my standard Android or iPhone. Um, like to a point where where they can see, all right, it would just be way more convenient to work with a Solana phone. Then I think people might choose, all right, yeah, my next phone is going to be a Solana phone, but that is definitely kind of big picture, more long term stuff.
Right. Right.
Um, but I don't know. Maybe if this phone really does live up to to the expectations, then I could see that be kind of a best case scenario. So yeah, I don't expect that to happen without any kind of hurdles. But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, who knows? It would be interesting to see. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Solana, but um, I guess any kind of retail adoption, if there's, I'll say, if there's actual use case, then yeah, I'm fairly positive about that. But if it's just kind of another semi-centralized thing where actually it is
Right.
called crypto, but it's not so decentralized in any way, then I'm not such a big fan of it. But let's see.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Like, just we're in a time that like it's very interesting to see that like it's like even just looking at like the Android based SDK that they created that's specific to
Right.
like Solana mobile D apps. That's interesting because like it enables a bunch of developers to now go and create essentially mobile D apps, and that's going to be listed in their app store. And
Yeah.
like that's definitely going to push like someone to figure out how to create the same thing but like on Ethereum or like on any other chain, and it's going to really show that like we need to start focusing on trying to create SDKs not just for mobile D apps but even like web-based like desktop D apps, because like we don't even have that yet for that. And like it's, I don't know, it could be really interesting where this could lead to, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if it comes with security trade-offs, but I guess we'll see that after a while, after everything plays out.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's, and on that note, like I mean, just seeing the whole market and seeing how like some like companies are just going bankrupt, and seeing how like other companies are literally just coming in like FTX and just buying them up after they've gone
Yep.
bankrupt. It's just hilarious because like it shows that like we're still
Sam bankrupt.
yeah like yeah, man, it's, and like it shows that we're still in an infancy stage, that we're still like a lot of people are still figuring things out, and it's still like extremely early. Like the fact that like Celsius really became insolvent because of them over leveraging themselves with the users' funds, pretty much
Yeah,
throwing it
that's
into like,
just so dumb.
yeah, like it's crazy. And like not even just them, even like Three Arrows Capital, like doing the
Yeah,
exact same thing, trying to like they had billions of dollars of Ethereum. They just needed to hold it, but they wanted to leverage with it. And look, now
yeah.
they have nothing. They could have been
I
like
mean,
trillionaires in the future, but who knows?
yeah. I mean, I saw someone mention they tracked one of their wallets, and apparently, they had to cash out. I think it was like 10 USDC, and then let's say something like 120 sushi tokens. But imagine going from like, yeah, 100k ETH is dust, and not like 100K dollars, right? But a hundred
Right.
k e is
Right.
dust to having to cash out 10 USDC. I mean, if that isn't
uh,
humbling, then I don't know what is,
no, yeah,
honestly.
100%. And like we're seeing here, right? Like BlockFi signing like a deal with FTX for a revolving credit of 250 million. Like I just think back when BlockFi accidentally sent a bunch of users 700 Bitcoin, and it's
Yeah,
like they were trying to defend themselves. Like, yeah, no, like we got it covered. Like we're good. Anything like whenever things like this happen, we have a fund that covers these losses. But where's
yeah.
that fund now? Now you have to go and get a loan from FTX. So like,
Uh, what I think is kind of funny is that you always think that these bigger players that you see um, have
yeah,
way better risk management and do everything
yeah,
way more professionally. Um, if you compare it to yourself when you think like, I fucked this thing up, or I did this wrong, or I
right,
could have done this better, you're like, shit, all these bigger funds probably um, have way more knowledge on how to do something, blah blah blah. But it somewhat shows, I mean, probably not entirely, right? But to
right,
me, it somewhat indicates that at least if you're looking at like three arrows, they're
yeah.
pretty much just as degen as the rest of us, right?
Right, like we're all learning as we go, like together, literally, and like honestly, it's a refreshing experience, especially coming from like, traditional finance where like it really is the big players manipulating markets and taking advantage of the retail. Like
Yeah,
you see that here, but like the other big players here, they're not immune to the manipulation. They also are getting manipulated. Like they're manipulating each other while manipulating retail. So like,
yeah. It's
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 interesting.
funny because I think wasn't Arthur Hayes, wasn't he in some case, because he admitted that BitMEX was trading against their own customers,
Yeah.
and I mean, yeah, he gets sued for that, but then Alameda can just trade against FTX customers. Like, dude,
Right.
that's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
How is that any different? But I mean, I guess the difference is that Sam donated to the Biden campaign.
Wow. So I mean, shit, I'm gonna create my own, and I'm gonna make sure I donate so then I don't get fucked. Like what? Oh man. But the thing is, like I've been hearing about like some of these like big players having like some type of God mode where they can just see everybody's trades and they could just counter trade everybody and make a ton of profit. And if that's actually true, then that's like it's crazy to really see how like they don't they talk about decentralization but they have something like this and then take advantage of everybody. And like that was the biggest thing when I was like when I first like was trading, like when I first got into crypto, I was using Binance, and I was like, of course, like you're gonna try some leverage, right? And like I would question why I would always get liquidated at a specific point. It's like, this is like a little sus, but I can't really explain it. And now hearing this God mode like theory is like kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the case of Arthur Hayes, it was just that I think they were the first exchange. BitMEX was the first exchange that offered like 100x leverage, right? And I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that that pretty much always will lead to people getting liquidated
Yep.
because, yeah, obviously.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, if you take the other side of that trade, then obviously you can always make like money from that. So
Right.
if you're the
Right.
exchange, then you actually benefit by people, and especially if you're trading against your own customers,
Yep.
then you benefit from them taking these insane risky positions and then
Yeah.
getting liquidated. And I mean, um, even if they don't get liquidated, then still you don't lose a whole lot, right? Because, yeah, again, they have to pay back. the money that they borrowed for their
Right,
leverage
right.
position, so it's not like you lose a whole lot. So I guess that was kind of the biggest thing, and I think that's maybe also why FTX reduced their leverage to something like, I don't know, I think it was 25x or 20x, which is still obviously
No, yeah, that's
a lot.
still a force. Yeah. But like, oh my God, like it's crazy because like, like traditional finance looking at us like pretty much leverage trading with 100x, 20x, 50x, whatever it is. They're looking at us like, what the hell are you guys
Yeah,
doing? Like it's like no wonder they call us degens because like I mean shit, this is degenerate behavior. I mean we're really just
yeah.
over leveraging ourselves,
The
hoping to.
only it is kind of stupid times stupid, because normally
Yep,
you would only use that kind of leverage in like forex markets that move so slowly, that and with only such incremental changes, that
yep,
you need the leverage, because otherwise you would hardly be making any money,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
even if your trade is right. But then we're using that insane amount of leverage, but not only are we not using it in like a normal market, or not using it in kind of a slow market or a
Right.
normal market, but we're using it in the most insane market, which is the most volatile of any market pretty much in recent history. So
Yeah,
yeah,
literally.
it is pretty stupid. And I think I told you that one time, before I got into crypto. um, I got a little bit into stocks, right? Nothing
Yeah.
major or anything, but I saw like, hey, and I didn't know anything basically. I was like, yeah, all right, this is my way to make some money, but I didn't know anything. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so yeah, the tech stocks are relatively going up way more than like other stocks, right? Let's say than the McDonald's, for
Right.
example. So I was like, ah, right, yeah, I'll just invest in some tech stocks, and then I was like, all right, so what is the max percentage drawdown realistically that a lot of these companies have? And I was like, it's hardly ever over 30%. So it's like, then I can just 3x leverage,
Yeah.
um, and probably not get liquidated. And I held that position open for like a year. And
Yeah.
looking back on it, that is fucking insane, of course. Like, who would keep open a leverage position for that long?
Right.
Um, but yeah, looking back on it, it did make me some money. But that is completely insane, of course. Like, leverage is only um, is only somewhat useful, I guess, uh, if you're doing it short term, for shorter term trades.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, I would probably not recommend it. And if you're doing it on longer time frames, then it's you have to be very certain, especially if you do it in crypto, that you only use leverage almost like near the bottom.
Yep.
Like right now, to be honest, right now, if you could do, let's say, 1.5 leverage or so
Yeah.
on, let's say, Bitcoin, right? I don't really see Bitcoin going under 10K.
Right.
So that could be a move, but also, yeah, probably don't do it with like your entire portfolio, right? Because then if you do get liquidated, then yeah,
Yeah.
you've lost everything. So
And that's another thing. Like I realized like when I was like playing around with leverage when I first got into crypto, like I realized like I shouldn't even be doing this on a centralized exchange like at all. Like and
yeah,
then like I started like researching about okay, is there decentralized leverage platforms, and I seen like Dydx, and I was like that was like the one time I actually made money with leverage outside of ABA, of course. And like the only reason I did is because like I had spot Chainlink, and then I had like my leverage position in Chainlink. So it's like okay, if like things hit the fan and like it starts like getting to my liquidation point, I could just like move my spot chain link to cover to pretty much take out the money that I have in the leverage before I get liquidated and everything. So in my
Right.
mind it was like, okay, this is fine. But like it's crazy because like even though like you're doing it at that point, it's still the same game because like people could just look on the blockchain and figure out what your liquidation price is and then try to push the price down to those levels just to get all of us liquidated. And like I managed to like get out in time like with profit without like
Yeah.
it pretty much crashing back down and everything like that how it happened. But like it's really insane that like and we go from like centralized exchanges, using guard mode and essentially looking at everybody's like trades and all the liquidation points and all these things to like it being on a blockchain is decentralized, but there's still like a level of like of people being able to see your liquidation price and being able to try to manipulate the price to like get you liquidated. It's a bit harder, of course, but like it's still the risk is still there. And like that's why I really don't recommend leverage at all unless you're like unless you got spot and you're trying to hedge against your like your portfolio essentially. But like it's yeah, you're playing with you're playing with fire at that point. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think even if you're kind of doing hedging, then yeah, it might be good if you're. But again, why? Yeah, you don't always need, I guess, the leverage, but
Yeah,
maybe.
and like
Yeah,
you gotta limit
I guess it
yourself.
depends.
Like
I'm
like
sorry.
how you said like you gotta limit yourself. Like how you said 1.5 for Bitcoin is like that's the leverage you gotta use. Like even when I was
Yeah,
doing that leverage trade on DYDX with Chainlink, I was using 3x. Like it was still
yeah,
and I still felt like oh my god this is too much. So I was watching it like every day. But like
yeah,
yeah, no I hear
yeah,
you.
dude. I know, like, it is a little bit in a roundabout way, but I think we've both also done the kind of leverage play on like Aave or
Oh
any
yeah.
lending market for that for that matter. But there you can even do like a 2x, right? Because then essentially you would just be taking out as much collateral as you posted, and
Yep, yep.
that's not even possible on Aave. But even there, ooh, I've
Yeah.
watched it in like while I was sweating like, ooh, please don't go lower, please don't go
You
lower.
see what I'm saying? And like that stress, like you don't need. Like if you're
Yeah,
getting into
no,
crypto, like if you're gonna play around with Aave, like take 10%,
yeah,
20% max. Like it's
yeah,
it's insane because like you wouldn't even be able to sleep at night because you're stressing
yep,
there. Like you wake up and you're liquidated and you got no money, and that's not the way to go in crypto. You're essentially already like buying like these low cap coins, you can call it. Like they're already like leverage enough. Even the large cap, there's some level of leverage. So like you don't need to add more leverage on it. It's already too volatile.
yeah, and that's actually a good point. I saw this. I think it was a tweet or an article by. I think it was an article actually by Trading Right. I don't know if you follow him. I think the guy's called Adam. Ape
Mm.
Trade is also an account of his, but he was essentially saying like, yeah, I just see altcoins as a leverage play on Bitcoin. So I only really trade Bitcoin because yeah, unless you pick maybe specific altcoins.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, like most altcoins are just like Bitcoin, but the volatility is on steroids, right? Like
Yeah.
if Bitcoin goes up, usually these altcoins go up more.
Right.
But if Bitcoin drops, then also these altcoins drop more. And
Yep.
to be honest, in the long term, there are probably only like a few coins that really outperform Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. And you gotta, and it's not like like that's what people gotta really look into the fundamentals of these different coins because like if you start understanding the fundamentals and you see how like the value like you see how like the value is going back to the token holders in some way, then you understand how the token can outperform Bitcoin in the long term. Like
Yeah.
even before, way before, like in 2014, 15, 16, like people considered Ethereum an altcoin and they wouldn't even touch that, right?
Yeah.
But like if you understood it and you read into the fundamentals, you would understand, oh wow, this is gonna be what we see today essentially, and you would have outperformed Bitcoin. And you could argue the same thing for Chainlink. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, right now, um, yeah, right now I can understand why some people are like, yeah, token not needed. But once staking kicks in,
right,
yeah, like I don't want to hop on the Chainlink bandwagon too often, but yeah, like you already, it's proven itself, right? Like you
right,
already
right.
know that pretty much every protocol in the space that takes itself serious is using Chainlink, whether that be for
Yep,
price feeds or uh, verifiable randomness functions or their keeper bots
yep.
network or yeah, all these different kinds of things. Um, yeah, everyone pretty much already is using that, and then
And they're
it's proven
actually
itself.
profitable now.
Yeah, exactly. That's just what I was going to say. They've proven themselves that they're profitable now, and now
Hmm.
they're going to turn on staking. So
Yeah,
uh, to make it more decentralized,
right. And they're
like
not gonna offer like 500%. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, that's
it's
also a good point.
sustainable. And
Yeah,
like it. The thing is, like, people need to understand that like staking isn't the end for Chainlink. Staking is the beginning. Like
yep,
the innovation is gonna ramp up from that point on. But like, yeah, dude, we can go on about the Chainlink for hours because we like the fundamentals is like next level. But man, I just found someone tweeted that BlockFi lost like $285 million in the last 2 years in the bull market. So like it's pretty, and like, they even have a document like showing like how they pretty much did it, and like it's hilarious to see like FTX essentially giving them like another 250 million
yeah.
to get their shit together
Wait,
for
they
this price.
lost 285.
Yeah, dude,
So
285
I
million.
mean, where's the other 35 million then coming from? Because that sounds like there's still 35 million in the hole.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So I guess they're gonna have to figure out that part. But
Yeah,
man, it's insane to see, to be honest. And oh yeah, good man, ZigZag. Well, tell me, what do you think about their token and how they handle that? Because it's a joke to me.
yeah, that is a joke for sure. Because as far as I understood it, basically they're saying, all right, um, we're gonna do an airdrop, but basically in the past few airdrops that were like the past few big airdrops, right?
Hmm.
People were not always happy with the criteria that recipients were selected on, so
Yep.
they're like, all right, we'll let the community decide on how the airdrop is distributed, but for that, surprise, surprise, you of course also need a token so people can vote on who gets the airdrop.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you're just doing it via poll or something, then obviously the results will get rigged. So if you want to do it in a secure, blockchain focused way, people will need a token to vote.
Right.
And people, the proposal now, or I think it's not even a proposal. I think it's at this point. They just flat out said like, all right, people will be able to buy the initial distribution that's pretty much only meant for voting on who gets the airdrop. They will be able to buy this token through an IDO, and
Yeah.
that's a small part of the total airdrop supply or the total token supply, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Look at it
So
right here.
let's say you're a buyer in this IDO, and you can vote on who gets basically the other tokens, right? And only
Right.
you have to remember only people who buy in the IDO can vote. then
Yep.
who would they vote gets the rest of the tokens? Yeah,
Themselves.
of course themselves, because otherwise you're pretty much what you're doing is voting for the dilution of the token. So who would you want
Yeah.
to vote for? Obviously, you only yeah, you don't want to get diluted at all, and the only way that's possible is if you're redistributing all the tokens to the same people who bought in the IDO.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're just pretty much saying, all right, yeah, this token has essentially, at least if it all goes down like I think it will, essentially has no airdrop, and it's just an IDO that we're doing. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's all good and well. I mean, there's not much wrong with that. I mean, you're never entitled to an airdrop, of course.
Yeah.
But then it's a bit like, all right, would i buy uh why would I buy this IDO of an exchange coin, right? Like if we're looking at most of the exchange coins out there,
Yeah.
they're pretty much useless. I mean, Uniswap,
Seriously.
the Uniswap token is just a governance token, and even their governance is a meme. um
It really is.
yeah,
It really
so
is.
unless their tokenomics are for some reason really really solid, then I don't really see a reason why you would buy their token in this IDO.
Yeah. No, it's dude. 30% going to the team is hilarious.
Bruh,
And
30%.
I don't know. It's hilarious because just looking at how they pretty much lost a ton of money because of
Yeah, yeah, I
UST is
forgot
just
that
hilarious.
part almost.
Like
Yeah,
they literally said, "Oh yeah, guys, we have no idea how to manage our funds, but yeah, buy into our token because
yeah,
definitely number is gonna go up over time." No, it's I don't know. If you can't
yeah,
handle your finance before the tokens come out, how are you gonna handle your finance after it comes out?
exactly. And I think that's something that I learned maybe a bit too late, but I definitely learned it last year, that even though even if you really like a project, right, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean the token will go up. It can go
Right.
up even if the token has pretty much nothing to do with the project. If there's just enough hype around the token, then that can definitely happen.
Yeah.
Um, like with some of the DeFi coins of last year, but that will never be sustainable because hype is not sustainable because people have a
Nope.
super short attention span. So if let's say 1 week, um, like the focus is on coin X, right? Let's say there's coin X, um, then the next week the focus will be on coin Y, and I even feel like, but correct me if I'm wrong here, but I even feel like the duration of how long a hype cycle lasts got shorter towards the end of the bull run. Did
Yeah.
you also feel that was true?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you definitely. Because people were just trying to run through as many different projects as they can to try to
Exactly.
extract as much profit
Yep.
before it all ends. Yeah, dude, I
Yep.
agree.
Exactly. I feel like some of the hype cycles at the beginning were maybe maybe like 1 or 2 months, and at the end it was just a week max, and then some maybe were even just a half a week or a few days where something
Yep.
just briefly bumped, and then people made some money hopefully, and then it went back down again.
Yeah, no, dude, that's like I don't know. It's just hilarious because even commenting on Chainlink's God's recent podcast, how he talks about there needs to be a change of how we pretty much structure tokenomics, where we would need to include like a revenue sharing to the token holders.
Yeah, yeah,
And man, if ZigZag isn't going to implement something like that, then there's not going to be any value for the token. It's just going to be another governance token like Uniswap's token. There's no use case for it, and I just find
yeah.
that to be hilarious.
And on top of that, I think also if they were being objective about it, but I guess it's just like you said, I think they need the money right now.
Yeah, very
But
true.
if they were being objective about it, even even apart from how the whole thing is launched, and even if we've not looked at the tokenomics yet, then
Mm,
the timing is just so bad, right? Because I've
exactly.
I've looked on the website of ZK Sync. Uh, I don't know, let's say a month ago, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much the only thing that was live is ZigZag Exchange. Now, ZigZag Exchange is a decent it's like a decent exchange. It does what you expect from an exchange. There's nothing wrong with it, but I can't imagine there being a whole lot of volume, or at least organic volume,
Mm,
because there's nothing else to do in the ZK Sync
yeah.
ecosystem, right? Because there virtually isn't really an ecosystem yet. Like they have all these projects on their website, which are in testnet mode and things like that,
Hmm.
so there is definitely a sort of, yeah, there's definitely something being built, right? But
Right.
again, I can't imagine there being a whole lot of volume because there isn't really an organic ecosystem yet for people to interact with.
Right.
So first of all, they don't really have that much of a user base yet, I think, but I could be wrong there. Um, but let's actually look at DeFi Llama. I'll quickly pull it up because I think that you might be able to see it there. Zigzag. Mm, uh, it's maybe not super accurate, I guess, but yeah, yeah, no, it isn't a whole lot in. I don't know what they mean by offers, to be honest, because it says $0 in TVL, so that can be right. Um, so yeah, again, I don't know what they mean by offers,
Hmm.
but yeah, there's just not much to do on CK Sync apart from just trading. And again, that is a use case, because I mean DYDX, there's DYDX is on StarkX or was on StarkX, and there was nothing to do apart from trading.
And
But
DYDX's tokenomics is garbage.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But not only, if we're, the last thing I want to say about ZigZag is not only that, but also we're in an obvious bear market. So
Yeah.
why are they launching their coin right now?
No,
But
it's
yeah, I mean, with regards to DYDX, yeah, what do you think of that?
man. Let me see if I can. So it's interesting because they deem that their actions to move to like something like Cosmos and have their own chain and all these different things is gonna, you could say, add more value back to the protocol and allow the
Right.
protocol to like expand to, you know, something new, right? But like I don't know, because like it's interesting to see how like they go from, oh yeah, hyping up Starknet and all these different things to then just like abandoning it and just going to something new and just saying, oh yeah, this is actually the better option, and we're actually going to do
Yeah.
everything that we have in mind with this new option rather than the old one, without really like 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 giving like enough reasoning to why they moved, besides like, some centralization in some aspect of like Starknet. But what do you
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't really compared kind of the scaling capabilities of Starknet or StarkX versus Cosmos, the Cosmos ecosystem.
think?
Um, so I'm not entirely sure on that. Also, I'm not entirely sure on the decentralization of Cosmos, but I think what is a concern with a lot of these um, layer twos on Ethereum is that obviously, like, If we're talking about optimistic rollups, for example, anyone can post like a fraud proof, right? To say
Yeah.
like, no, this transaction is actually not valid. Anyone can do that within 7 days usually.
Mhm.
And on like ZK rollups, it's just kind of the validity is proven through ZK proof, zero knowledge proof. That's what they also called like validity proof. But I guess what the problem is with most of these rollups is that the sequencer is not
Yep.
decentralized.
Right.
Um, so I think that's also probably the case with StarkX and StarkNet,
Yeah.
and that's actually what I think Arbitrum is working on with their um, fair sequencing service that they plan
Yeah.
on decentralizing the sequencer. I heard some rumors also about Optimism maybe wanting to do that. So that's
Mhm.
definitely moving in the right direction. Um, but with regards to DYDX, what I also just saw, I saw like two kind of random takes. The one definitely being more random than the other, but the first one was just a suggestion, like maybe the developers from DYDX actually just wanted to code in Rust rather than Cairo, which is the programming language of StarkX, because apparently the developers of DYDX didn't code anything in Cairo.
Yeah,
They,
I've seen that.
yeah, like that's just pretty much a service that Starkware, which is the company behind StarkX and
Mhm.
StarkNet, offers. Is just them coding your product in Cairo,
Right.
um, which I mean is fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it is definitely a super new language, so I can understand if yeah if a company like DYDX doesn't want to code in that because their developers are probably not familiar with it. Um, and then the other um, possibility that I heard was just if DYDX moves to their own chain basically on Cosmos, then they might be trying to just capture what someone called the L1 premium. So yeah,
Mm.
essentially DYDX could become another L1 token, right? Like Atom or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
AVAX or Sol for Solana, or whatever kind of L1 token you have. So I don't know, could be,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah, I
it's
think I would
crazy.
need to look more into the technical comparison between StarkX and Cosmos, but it was definitely a surprising move to me.
Yeah. No, and then they're like, oh yeah, now you could be able to take your DYDX token and stake it on a validator and validate transactions. So it's like, oh yeah, now we have more utility for the token. But
They already
uh,
said that.
like that, yeah, they were talking about that. I seen it. I forgot where
Ah,
exactly, which post.
okay. I mean, if that's the case, then that pretty much confirms the L1 token thesis
Yeah.
that I was just talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And that's pretty funny. But yeah, well, all we could do is just wait and see. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really used DYDX, unfortunately. Otherwise, I could have gotten an airdrop. But um, yeah, no, unfortunately didn't use them, so I don't really care too much. Although I will say it could be kind of a setback, just from a reputation standpoint,
Yeah.
for kind of Stark X, but then that also, of course, reflects on StarkNet, which is okay. So the difference between Stark X and StarkNet is that StarkNet is this general purpose, basically layer two,
Mm.
yeah, ZK rollup from the company Starkware,
Yeah.
but that is not out yet, as far as I know, or at least the last time I looked into it, which was about, I guess, 1 or 2 months ago. and then StarkX is kind of an app specific. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if you could call it its own chain, but that's
Yeah.
basically app specific. So uh, there's no other applications that would be able to interact directly with DYDX as long as it is on StarkX, right?
Right.
Um, so
No,
yeah,
that
I
makes
guess
sense.
that does probably have its advantages and disadvantages, but
Right.
yeah, anyway, I think it kind of reflects a little bit badly on on ZK rollups in general, right? Like
Yeah.
DYDX is by far the most well-known and biggest application that's using a ZK rollup. So if they say like, yeah, no, for I think they said for scaling purposes, right, was their main
Yeah.
issue. Yeah, we're not going to be using this anymore. Then yeah, you kind of have to question like, all right, then what is the better solution, because
Right.
it's not
Right.
even in the Ethereum ecosystem anymore. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
It makes you
might be
question a lot
worth
of things.
looking. Yeah, might be worth looking more into Cosmos.
Yeah. No,
Um,
definitely.
but
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I've looked into it only a little bit. I have to say, but I never really got the feeling in this whole bull run that anyone was really using Cosmos or their whole ecosystem for that matter. The only people
Yeah.
that I've heard from that they were using it, they were pretty much only they pretty much only seem to be using it to farm airdrops, which I mean, fair enough, but that's
Yeah.
obviously not very organic use.
Yeah. True. Very true. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's definitely interesting to see, like like how you said, how we were saying earlier, how this really is like a multi-chain world now, and like it's
Yeah,
like yeah, but it's definitely worth looking into. Not just even Cosmos, even like some more into Polkadot and all these things, just to see like what's the difference between all these different ecosystems and what are the pros and cons, and like just to see like okay, like when some like a move like this happens, like we're aware like okay, yeah, it makes sense why they went over there because of X Y Z. So I
yeah.
mean, it's definitely worth seeing what could happen in the next couple months.
Yeah, I mean, Polkadot is kind of the same story for me at least.
Yeah.
I know I think it's still maybe not in the top 10, but definitely almost top 10. Like it's 11 if you look at CoinGecko. But I've never ever heard someone about using Polkadot, right? Like I've never heard someone excitedly say, "Ah, there's this new protocol on Polkadot that you have to check out."
Have you seen their wallet? Like their wallet is not user friendly at all. Like my goodness, I tried to dive into the space because it was of course when the hype was happening with like the dot token. I was like, oh yeah, let me see what's within their ecosystem that I can get into early. That but like
Yeah,
it's like to me it's all right, but like to a new user like in comparison to like MetaMask, they're not gonna use Polkadot's wallet. They're gonna need to upgrade it a lot for them to be able to like gain some adoption from retail investors at least.
yeah, Mm. Yeah. No, like I said, I haven't used it yet, but also because I didn't get the feeling anyone was using it, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
still way
always a
too
bad
early.
thing. You might also, like you said, just be early, and then if things do become bigger, that's usually where you make money.
Right.
But if there's just generally and genuinely not any activity happening, then it's usually also not that exciting to be there, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Man, going on like to Tether and them launching this British pound stablecoin. What do you think? What do you think about this? Because like I just seen you Circle releasing their the Euro token, and like
Right.
right after you see Tether coming out with this British pound token. So it's like, what the hell?
Um, yeah, I think it will be interesting to see. if it has good liquidity, could be useful. But I think mainly kind of the make or break for this, I feel like, will be if it is incorporated in bigger protocols, right? If it is
Right,
incorporated in lending markets, if it's
right.
incorporated in like urn vaults or anything,
Hmm.
and that I guess ties into um, yeah, just the dollar being the reserve currency of the world. Like if people don't want to save in pounds, like globally speaking, in a very general sense,
Right.
or in euros, but um, they prefer the dollar, then yeah, this thing will probably not really get adopted by many
Yeah.
protocols. So then um, yeah, it's not super exciting, right? Because then also the liquidity will not be that great. So I remember looking at this, I think it was like a month back or so, and I saw that there was, um, let's see, maybe if I look it up on, yeah, let's see, Euro stablecoins, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you have like, yeah, Euro Tether. Then you have Stasis Euro. Don't know. That's probably a different company. And after that, it drops off fairly quickly in market cap.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the total market cap for like Euro stablecoins, it's not even 500 million. And if we're looking at stablecoins in general, which obviously is then almost only USD, or I can also see only USD coins,
Yeah.
then it's like 152 billion. So yeah,
Oh man.
that's like three more than 300 times as much. Do I say
Yeah.
that correctly? Yeah, yeah, that's more than 300 times as much. So I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I wouldn't really be hurt by any liquidity issues on a coin that has like a market cap of like 250 million, right? Like
Right.
I'm not gonna have any problems with that in terms of liquidity, but for bigger protocols, yeah, they probably will. So I
Yep.
think in this list of I think the euro coin that you were talking about, yeah, it's just listed. So this is on CoinGecko. It's still preview only.
Hmm.
Um, it says the coin will launch on June 30th. So that's in a few days. So again, maybe if the liquidity is really there, then it might be good. But it's kind of the chicken and the egg problem
Yeah.
if we're talking about integration with other protocols, because then if the liquidity is hardly there, then it seems unlikely to me that protocols would use it as what they always call these DeFi Legos.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's
Um,
true, and it's especially it's coming from Tether, and like a lot more people are a lot more aware of what Tether pretty much does and how it operates, and they don't have too much confidence in them. So like it boils down to like who's pretty much launching these stable coins as well. So like that's why I'm happy to see, even though I really don't support Circle, because at the end of the day, USDC is essentially the CBDC but for US dollar
yeah,
coin, you know? So like them releasing, the US, version stable coin. I mean the euro stable coin. I mean it could take some market cap away from, Tether's euro stable coin because I highly doubt like many is really using it to begin with.
yeah. I mean, um, I guess it would be. Yeah, the thing is, it would be useful to people maybe. Um, Let me think for 1 second about this. Yeah, no, honestly, I can't really think of that many use cases because
Yeah.
what the problem here is um, like let's say you have a traditional bank account here, right, in Europe.
Yeah.
Then let's say if I have this one bank and you have another bank, let's assume for a second we're living in the same country. You
Mhm.
have another bank, then it will take um, like either within the day, if you're doing it, if you're doing the transfer during working hours, then it will
Mhm.
be processed within the day. So from my account to your account or vice versa. If you're doing it after 5, then it will be there the next day. And then if we're both using the same bank, then it will just be there instantly, regardless of the time. So you could send it
Right.
at 3 at night, and it will be there instantly. I think for like cross border, it also takes. I think it's probably the same, although it might take a little longer. So maybe just to be safe, let's say it's a day, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you could all do this. Um, yeah, the thing what you could do with, I guess, the euro stablecoin is that you could send someone euros instantly. But the problem is that I don't really see anyone saving um,
Nah.
in euros, in the sense that Americans are definitely not going to save in euros. People from, let's say, developing countries or third world countries, I think, are, if they have some money, they're probably more likely to want to save in dollars than euros.
Right.
Um, yeah, so again, like if no one is really using it, yeah. So I guess the sort of conclusion is that maybe Europeans who are already familiar with crypto and want to send euros around to the people they're familiar with who also use euros. Yeah, sure, it
Right.
might be useful there, but apart from that, it's probably not super useful, I
Yeah.
think. And again, it could be more useful if it gets integrations with other DeFi protocols. But apart from that, I think, yeah, it depends if people want to save in euros or not. But I don't really see who would be the target audience for that, because Europeans can already, I guess, save in euros. Maybe, okay, so here's one very uh, kind of edge case use case. Maybe because the European Central Bank, as far as I'm aware, already charges negative interest rates
Mm.
um, on like deposits above 100K.
Yeah.
So if for some reason you would want to save in euros and you have more than 100K, then it would be more beneficial for you
That's true.
uh, to have it in this euro stablecoin. But with that, also with me saying that, I also realize now that also comes with the risk that since um, yeah, Circle is just such a centralized and regulated
Right.
entity, that if the European regulators just say, all right, yeah, any balance that's above 100K, you
Yeah.
have to programmatically kind of charge them this negative interest rate. I mean, Circle could do that probably, I would guess, within a day.
Yeah.
That's probably only a few lines of code.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm also
No,
not
I
so
agree.
sure people would be too happy about that. And again, like, who would save in euros, right? Like, apart from Europeans, like I said, Americans are not going to do it. I think people in developing countries are more likely, if they're not saving in their own currency, to choose the dollar, probably because, yeah, it's still the reserve currency. Um,
Right. No, yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely interesting to see,
and if
man.
we're talking about like the pound that you brought up a little earlier, I think the use case is even weaker there, because
Yeah.
it's only one country compared to the whole European Union.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
I don't
true.
know. I don't know honestly.
Dude, eBay buying an NFT marketplace. I was like thinking about this for like days. Just like realizing like, huh, imagine if they really moved like, cause like the idea of an NFT, right? Like if you want, like remember the sock, like the Uniswap socks. Like if you wanted
Yeah.
the, if you wanted
Yeah.
the socks, you could just redeem the NFT and then they would just mail you the socks, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, think about that, but for everything within eBay, but as NFTs. That sounds interesting. And like they would obviously make the most from the transaction fees because of course they're the ones that own the marketplace. But like,
Yeah.
man, that it goes to show that like we're gaining some adoption. Maybe it's not rapid like how we want it, where we see everybody absolutely using it in so many different ways. But like we're gaining. Like I mean, this is interesting.
That reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday where I had to explain what I do. And someone, so I mentioned I work in blockchain, and then someone asked me, "But what actual use case is there for blockchain?" And I was like, "Yeah, to be fair, a lot is just super useless stuff." Yeah, but
Oh
if we're
shit.
being honest, like there are
No,
so
yeah.
many copies of Dexes, and
Yeah.
like the kind of the 10th Uniswap clone or whatever, or Aave clone or
Yep.
things like that. Yeah, that's all super useless because that just fragments the liquidity and basically
Right.
nothing more than that. Um, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I think there's still definitely use cases, like you said, like eBay could integrate NFTs and having kind of the a sort of ownership in perpetuity where you could say, for example, every time this NFT is sold, the creator gets, I don't know, 5%, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's super useful to all kinds of creative professions. Um, that's even useful outside of creative professions. That's only one area because it's basically just it kind of changes copyright law, or not
No, it
necessarily
does.
law, but
Yeah.
how it's used in practice, I would say.
Right. No, seriously, because like if you really boil down what eBay is, it's a marketplace. It's not
Yeah,
an NFT marketplace, but it's a marketplace.
yeah,
And now them acquiring an NFT marketplace is just gonna take them to the next level if they really integrate it in the way that I have it in mind. Because they really like that will be the way that they can actually really start competing with Amazon. Because Amazon has been, just beating their ass the whole time. But like this would be pretty interesting.
yeah. What I maybe found the most shocking about that whole deal um, was that I think there was this one article that mentioned like yeah, known origin, because that was the name of the marketplace they
Yeah,
bought, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
known origin has done a total of like 7.8 million in volume. And I was like, dude, that's
Uh,
insane. Because if you think about it, I don't know the exact numbers about what the total volume is on OpenSea, but I think it has to be in the billions, right?
yeah,
And
definitely.
with the whole NFT craze, uh, especially early last year, I
Hmm.
would have thought known origin at least would have somewhere like 100 million, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, 7.8 million is of course not nothing, but it's still so low if you realize that there were crypto punks that were probably sold for more than that,
No,
and
yeah, I
that's
agree.
only one NFT.
And dude, and that's why I appreciate that they actually see the use case of purchasing an NFT marketplace because like they see how OpenSea has billions of like transactional volume, and it's like people are just buying and selling pictures. At the end of the day,
Yep.
that's not even like oh my god, this is links to a picture essentially. So it's like them diving in and then rechange, like trying to change it in a way that's like going to be way more useful. Pretty exciting. Hopefully, we can see some progress with that really soon, and we can like get some update video on that, and that would be, man, that would be pretty exciting to see how far they can get with that. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon takes the same approach. Imagine they just come along and they just buy OpenSea. That'd be hilarious.
They probably have the money for it, and
Yeah,
also wouldn't be surprised if Google does something similar.
yeah, I agree. I definitely agree there. I mean, shit, even Uniswap is trying to get into the NFT marketplace game. They bought an NFT marketplace aggregator though, which is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Cause
that's
like,
pretty smart.
yeah, I agree. And then like it's like they're not limiting themselves to just like like swapping tokens. Not well, like what I'm saying, like fungible tokens. Now you could actually like they're trying to get into the realm of NFTs and allow people to swap non fungible tokens, and that's like pretty exciting because like, I mean, Uniswap is just Uniswap, and then nobody cares about a DEX anymore. It's great that they have a bunch of, you know, like they have a ton of volume, and they like everybody knows about them. But the more we innovate, the more we'll figure out replacements for this that are going to be 10 times better. So it's good that they're actually trying to innovate and trying to expand further than just what they
Yeah,
do right now.
yeah, agree. Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's hope it works as seamlessly as Uniswap itself.
Yeah, so we could hope so. I mean, if they don't, then that's where they're gonna fuck up because like
Yeah,
everybody goes to Uniswap because it's so seamless. Man, I mean, you want to end the live stream right now? I know we can still go on about Coinbase adding their ability to be able to allow users to withdraw into Polygon, and also we can go into what you was telling me earlier about like sending crypto like in the Netherlands. But I kind of want to hold off on that because we can really go on a tangent about that too.
sure. Yeah, I mean, we can do that for a later time.
Yeah, we could do it for next week.
Yeah, sure.
Man, this has been a great call though.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let me end it right here.
I think it's about twice as long as the other.